very good evening wherever you're watching us from. This is CAC TV broadcast of the continued series, of course, on the PCEA Health Week 2024. And here at CAC TV, we've been following on all aspects to do with that week. Of course, the topic being coming back to senses and, of course, facing alcoholism. All about alcoholism. We've been having a series of shows on alcohol and its effects, of course, on society. And tonight is not going to be any different. We are having another show on the same alcohol. Of course, the effects of alcohol use on socio-economic development. That's what we're going to look at tonight, and a little bit of addiction, and of course, what is the way out. You have a comment, you have a feedback. Remember that you can be a part of this show by sharing your views on our social media pages, CAC TV Kenya on Facebook, CAC TV_Kenya on Twitter or X, as well as our SMS number is 01122000044. We'll be able to sample a bit of what you say at the tail end of this show, or even as we continue with our coverage of this particular topic on alcoholism. Tonight, I have guests, of course, my panelists, who are going to help us delve into the topic tonight, and it will be only fair for me to first of all introduce them in studio for you to know who they are. I want to begin with my very close right here. This is Mercy Maina, as a counseling psychologist from Kikuyu Hospital, PCA Kikuyu Hospital to be specific. How are you, Mercy?
I'm very well, Vincent.
Good. I'm great, and I'm looking forward to us having a great show tonight from the perspective of counseling from your side. Of course, the only gent in the house as the panelist. Of course, I'm also a gent, but as a panelist, we have only one gent here tonight, and this is George Gadai, an assistant chaplain from the hospital as well. How are you guys?
I'm good, sir. I'm good.
Good to have you here.
Thank you.
Not the first time for you to be on CAC TV.
Oh, yes.
Yes, karibu sana.
Asante.
Hapa ni nyumbani.
Asante kabisa kabisa.
Yes, and of course, our far right is Dr. Wairimu Waititu, a medical officer intern at the hospital. How are you, Daktari?
I'm fine. Yeah.
Karibu sana.
Asante.
Umetoka kwa baridi, umekuja kwa kajua kiasi angalau.
Kuota jua Nairobi.
Yes, unajua they say Nairobi is the city in the sun, as they say. Kwa hivyo karibu sana kwa jua.
Asante.
Remember, this show is live on Facebook and as well as YouTube. You can give your comments and be able to sample them, as I said, as we continue with this show. Tonight is all about alcoholism and the effects on socio-economic development. Let's begin here. Let me begin with you, Mercy. What is your take on alcohol use? I hear nowadays it's a disorder. It's called alcohol use disorder. What is your take of that particular thing in society right now?
Actually, alcohol use has always been a disorder.
Oh.
It's just getting the recognition now.
Yes.
So a lot of people are recognizing it as a disorder. And part of the reason why it's recognized as a disorder is because of its effect and the lack of control that people who are affected by it have. So you have no control over how much you can drink. You have no control over the effects. Just like any other disease, you never pick or choose when to get sick, how to get sick, and the effects that you're going to experience as a result of being sick. So same goes for alcohol use. Yes.
And for you, chaplain, you know, wewe ni mchungaji, and I know you are all over in society. You see these cases, some come to you, some even where you fellowship in church. How serious is this issue in society for you?
Okay, I want to say that this is a real serious issue, because when you move around in every village, in every part of our country, of our nation, you find people who are inebriated, people who are drunk. So I want to say that this is a real critical issue, and I want to say that it has many of its effects on the people, even on the society. For example, the people that are the young people, be they women or men, when they are under the effects of alcohol, they don't do any work. That means they even even they have no ways of maybe even earning their lives, earning their living. So I want to say that is a real critical issue, and this is the high time. I think we need to look at it so that we see if we can have solutions to it. Yes.
Yes, it's a real issue according to Mr. George here. For you, Daktari, when you look at it, I know you handle these cases, could be on a daily basis. When you look at it, how serious is it from the medical view of things?
It is so serious, and the problem is usually when people are starting, when alcohol use is starting off in people, they have not yet envisioned the medical aspect. Usually they start it off as a social thing, as a psychological thing where you're coping, or you're just starting it as peer pressure. But usually most people have not seen it all the way to the end, the medical level. We are now at the tail end. Now we are getting all manner of diseases caused by alcohol, starting from the mind to the throat, to the lungs, to the stomach, to impotence, and plus now the socio-economic aspect of it, of buying medicine and treating it, and rehabilitation, which is also very costly, and to addiction, which for most people is very costly to treat, to cope with it, and for some people even suicide and even treatment, the psychiatric level of it, trying to manage it at the level of suicide, and it's a big problem.
It's a big,
it's a big medical problem.
It's a monster that we need to tackle.
It's a monster in the hospital. Yes.
Yeah, and I want us to maybe begin from that point of addiction. You know, for a person to get to a level that you get addicted, for me, addiction is where you become dependent on, you can't do without. Or is it maybe you can help us, you as an expert, in terms of counseling, but when a person gets to a level that they cannot do without something, then it means that it is getting to points that it's going to be serious. Going to the future, it's going to be serious, and especially to something that we know is detrimental to the body system, to how people work, how people relate, and everything about that. It's going to be a serious issue. Then how does it begin then to a point that a person, anafika mahali now, they cannot do without?
Okay.
Yeah.
Just like Daktari has said, it starts for a lot of people. It starts off as just social drinking. So you're going out with your friends, you get a drink or two, then you go home. But now, with time, if you used to get one drink, what do you call it? If you used to get one beer, and that's you call it a night, then it gets to a point where that same beer is not getting you to the level of high that you'd desire. So there are some warning signs that come with alcohol use. One of them being increased tolerance. So if you used to take, in one sitting, you take a six-pack. A six-pack is not, it's no longer cutting it for you. So now you start increasing the intake. And now what happens is that the more you drink, the more you become dependent on this drink, because your body is also going to be accustomed to knowing without this we cannot function. So if I am used to drinking every Friday, when Friday reaches, my body reminds me, leo ni Friday, we need to get that drink. And if I don't, I'll start exhibiting now the physical symptoms. So I get tremors, there's those who will experience sweats, there's those who can't even do anything. But the moment they take that drink, they are completely okay. Yeah, so there are warning signs that come with addiction. So it's not something that happens overnight. It happens over time. Yes.
But then do people know that it's going to get to this level? Like Daktari said, it begins from a point of people don't know how much of an effect this is going to have in their lives later. But then what encourages this in society for you, you think, Daktari? Because mtoto akizaliwa, they are not born, being drinkers, let me use that term. They're not born using alcohol, but then they get to an age, they become addicts. What encourages this for you? Is it what we see people doing, Is it because we are failed as a society? Is it because the government policies are not working? Or what really encourages to these levels of addiction and people being dependent?
Okay, I think, like Shia said, we may not really pinpoint one point and say this is what maybe has led to that, but I think it's kind of a multidisciplinary issue, whereby maybe even the way our society is. Of course, alcohol, well, of course, it's acceptable in the society, is acceptable in the society. Also, maybe another issue is maybe even the way children are brought up. Maybe one is maybe brought up in a family where maybe the parents, maybe the father was an alcoholic. So that, of course, the children will learn from their parents. And also even maybe another thing is maybe where now, maybe as a result of the way things are, maybe because of maybe lack of jobs, maybe when after young men and women, after they leave school, maybe they have no meaningful work to do. That leaves them with a lot of time, a lot of free time, a lot of idle time. So I think those are some, and when they're having that idle time, that means they can use, look for things to do. And one of the things that they do is to engage themselves in most of what I would say antisocial tendencies, and maybe being young people, being young men and young women, maybe one of the things that they do is to involve themselves in alcohol consumption. So I want to say those are some of the things that maybe tunaweza kusema zinachangia alcoholism in the society. So I think that will be my take. Yes.
Daktari, something that our psychologist here has raised is that they began with 1 bottle, 2 bottles, and then they go now to a whole crate and crates now. And they don't know that this is actually happening. But then this brings to a question, and I always ask this question whenever I've had these shows on alcoholism. Is there then a safe drinking level? Is there a safe alcohol use level? People used to say excessive drinking of alcohol is harmful to your health. But then you realize that hii moja yenye unakunywa ndio inakupelekea mpaka inakusababisha you go to whole new level. Is there a safe drinking level?
So at this point I want the feedback I'm going to give is very evidence-based.
Yes.
Because in psychiatry, as we alluded at the beginning, right now alcohol use disorder, we are recognizing it as a disease in science. No, it's no longer a social issue, it's no longer counseling, it's a disease. So also now with the evidence we are getting in terms of management, the current, according to World Health Organization, in conjunction with now the guide on how we manage psychiatric disorders, we are saying there is no safe level of alcohol. That's what we are. That's where we are with science right now. So there is no amount of alcohol medically that we are going to say it's safe. So now we are walking away from saying excessive use. We are walking away from binge, whatever. We are walking away from that. We are saying there's no level. We are treating alcohol as a psychoactive substance. Psychoactive means it's a drug that does something to the body. So therefore, any level of it is not safe. Yes.
If you can avoid it.
There's not if you can avoid. Medically, alcohol should not be taken. Yes.
Because as you called it, a psychoactive?
It's a psychoactive substance. So for things that affect the mind, especially because at the end of the day, alcohol will affect behavior and the mind, and of course the general body. But whereas like when you get infection that bring a disease. But now for things that affect the mind, we call them psychoactive. Alcohol is one of them. So we usually say there's no safe level of infection to the body. So there's no safe level of any psychoactive substance to the mind. So 0 alcohol. Yes.
Zero alcohol. And of course, we are going to talk that to the tail end. How do we get to those levels of zero alcohol intake? But before now, let's look at it. And everything that all of you have tried to raise here, and the input that you've already alluded to in this conversation, then leads us to the question now here: what are the effects of all this on the socio-economic development of not just an individual but a society as well? Because all this that you said is implicated on economy and our social being. Because when you take alcohol to levels that Dr. have said, you go to hospital, that means you're going to be it's cost implicative and everything all around that. Then now let's look at the adverse effects of alcohol intake on socio-economic development, because that's our major area that we are measuring on tonight. And I've tried to look at it from this point of things. Even buying itself, mchungaji, buying itself, kwenda kununua alcohol, ni pesa.
That's true.
Na si cheap.
No.
Cheap.
Yes, let's begin from there.
Yeah, I think, like you've said, the effects most on the socio-economic aspect of life is that we find that now, as a result of alcoholism, you find there's breakdown of relationships, more so at the family level. So you find maybe if it is a husband, they're no longer now in good terms with the wife, and so you find the relationship that relationship is already broken. And when, as a result of that, you may find people going their different ways. That means that now that family, the family setup as we know it, it is no longer there. It is affected. And that means even when the Bible tells us that two are better than one. So sometimes when people are disjointed, it means that even the kind of work that they do, it is not bringing enough. So I think that is point number one, where we can say that there is this breakdown of relationships, that they are no longer there, and that one has it affects even the social aspect of life. Remember, they are children, and those children now, instead of being brought up by both parents, they are maybe being brought up by one parent, who maybe even he or she does not have even enough financial muscle to do the same. We may end up children not going to school. We may end up children maybe even at the very early age going now even to look for work. So you can see it's really quite a menace. Yeah. And then also I think there's something that I had put down here about I think I've said about relationship problems where we have broken families, and then there's also the neglect of responsibilities. As a drunkard, maybe because once now, like Dr. has said here, this is a psychoactive substance. It is affecting maybe the minds of the person. So that in itself will lead maybe to that person like neglecting responsibilities, and this is so evident. You have seen in our shopping centers, in the villages, most of the drunkards, most of the young men and women, they have neglected a lot of things. Look at the way they groom. You find they are in tattered clothes. You find, you even don't want to look at them. And then, like we're saying, they abscond jobs. Maybe even those who are working as a result of alcohol, now they no longer go to work. They have absconded. And the effects of that, maybe they are fired. So you can see it's like it's spiraling down. Yeah. So it is not something that, and like I said, I think it's a psychologist who say that they even neglect marital duties. So you find, and as a result of that, you find families are disintegrating. This is I think Dr. had talked about evidence-based. We have seen in our televisions, maybe from some of the counties, women demonstrating coming out in great numbers, demonstrating and saying that, that they want to go to where to those people who sell alcoholic drinks. They are demonstrating because they are saying their husbands have left them.
Yeah, or they are zombies.
They have become zombies. So I think these are some of the things that we were saying that as a result of neglect of responsibilities, these are some of the things that we see. So I think we can see, and all of us, we can appreciate that the effect on the socio-economic aspect of life, it is immense. It is immense.
It's immense. And I want to rope in our psychologist, as counseling psychologist here, to also weigh on that. And what Mchungaji has said, especially on family breakdown, and this is where now we see the issues of SGBVs and everything like that. How serious are these issues? You as a counseling psychologist, how serious are the issues that Mchungaji has raised on family breakdown and the issues to do with families because of alcohol intake or abuse, and for that matter? You look at the fact that amesema kwamba neglect of responsibilities. Jamaa ataenda Friday, atarudi Monday, so baba yuko, ama mama anatoka anaenda Friday, anarudi Monday. This means this family is breaking down, and when it breaks down, hapo ndo vita inaanzia. Sikia mmoja amepigwa, ametolewa jicho, or they go to even a full extent of killing each other because of just alcohol use. Can you weigh on that, on this?
Okay, the issue of alcohol use and its effect is very, very great. And like Mchungaji has said over here, when it comes to the neglect of responsibilities, it's not just the financial bit of it, because there are some alcoholics out there who we call the functional alcoholics. So these are people who carry on with their day-to-day lives. They take care of some of their responsibilities, and so for such people, when you tell them you have a problem, they'll wonder, unasema nini, yeah, exactly. Juu nimelipa rent, I've paid school fees, I've bought food, but at the end of the day, there's more to marriage and family than just the financial bit of it. So when it comes to the effects on breaking down of families as a result of alcoholism, it's very, very wide. And like you mentioned, some of the issues of SGBV, you find that some people are arrested, and when they are arraigned in court, they'll deny, and true to it, they have no recollection of what happened.
That actually mtu ajui ndiye alipatia their partner black eye.
Yes, because a lot of them get to a point where they lose complete control over not just the alcohol consumption, but also over the decisions that they are making. So once your decision making is altered, it's going to trickle down to other aspects of your life. And that's when you'll find, if all my time is spent drinking, all my finances are spent drinking, all my emotional effort, I spend it drinking, then your spouse will also get to a point where they feel, hapa sitaweza, because they feel completely neglected. And once I feel completely neglected, I'll also ask myself, is it really worth it? And you'll find exactly. And that's where you find even spouses will start finding that attention elsewhere. And they'll feel like, if I'm getting this attention elsewhere, where am I staying here, where this person can't even give me 10 minutes of his time or her time? So alcohol plays a very great role when it comes to the breakdown of families. And that's even why, even for when it comes to some of the SGBV, you'll find the violence also trickles down not just to the spouses, but also to the children and the neighbors, and it's a whole menace in general.
A society broken down, for that matter. Terry, just to connect with this, especially the issue just being absent from home because of alcoholism. If you're absent, that means there is a role you're not playing. If you're a husband, you're a wife, you're a father, mother. But look at it from this point of a husband, a wife, or even people just in society, partners and all that. If you're not available, and I know that my wife is not here, and I need her, or my husband is not here and I need her at that time, I need to look for a way, I have to find a way to fill that void. And people go out, extramarital issues coming now, and here we get diseases like, you know, HIV and other STDs and everything like that connected. It's alcohol use or alcoholism a major issue when it comes to disease infection out here as well. Si hata kwa hiyo ya kutoka tu, but the fact that mtu anajisahau, ameenda club, amejisahau, ajua ameshughulika na nani, ajui nini amekutana nayo and all that. How is alcohol use an issue relating to disease infection as well? Yeah.
So alcohol
other than those diseases zenye zina ukimeza itaku affect kwa body, but kwa sababu umemeza umejisahau and all that, that is it.
You see, alcohol as mchungaji said it is, first of all, it is accepted. So you see now, between the acceptance of alcohol and now trying to introduce all this, people we really don't want to face this other side, that alcohol, as we said, is a culprit in so many things. Because number one, we can talk of even things like, let's start from now, STDs. With alcohol, the decision making, the psychologist has talked about. So as much as people want to defend that, oh, their guards are high, I'm a good decision maker, alcohol will definitely take your, especially chronic use, your judgment and your cognitive skills will go down. So in terms of even judging the people you are with and the situation you're putting yourself in terms of even protection, what we talked about, they even totally forget about some things that even ever happened. So alcohol, especially in teenagers and adolescents, and of course now to adults, it's the major culprit in what we are seeing as STDs. Because on a good day, people are sober enough to know how to protect themselves against gonorrhea, HIV. But when alcohol comes in a very young mind which cannot make proper decision, it will definitely like impair all their protective mechanism. So then there are also other diseases that will be associated, things like malnutrition, because if you look at the alcohol culture, like in our country, even for adults, so people leave work on Friday, they don't go home, they go to the clubs, they start drinking. So if they will have any food, I'm talking about malnutrition, it will be just maybe nyama and ugali. That will not be enough to be shared among us. Then tomorrow I'm very tired, I'm hungover, I'll wake up and have soda to boost my energy immediately, instead of like, I don't have energy to prepare a good breakfast, or even the good appetite and the good mood to sit down for a proper breakfast. Then I have hangover, I have withdrawal, so I have to go back. So if you observe this person throughout the whole weekend, and he's somebody who is earning good money, doing a good job, but nutrition-wise, they're never settling down to eat properly. So over time, they are missing out on fluids, on water, on balanced diet, variety, cereals. So in the long run, you're finding these people with deficiency, micronutrient deficiencies. Because they all, you know, for alcohol, and I think you guys have come across these terms, you're laying foundation. You're just trying to put something in your stomach. Is it bread? Is it some big mound of ugali? Just something to cover the stomach from the erosion of alcohol. So you're not like properly feeding. So in the long run, we are having a lot of malnutrition. And in fact, in the management of alcohol, one of the things nowadays we have included is micronutrients. On top of anything else you're going to do, the therapy, the medicine, you have to add on, because most of these people will now be missing on the micronutrients. And if we dive into that, the lack of micronutrients, the vitamin A, the vitamin D, all of these are the ones that really are into detoxification, those micronutrients. That's why an alcoholic is prone to all these kind of diseases, because the lack of micronutrients, there is no detoxification in the body. So you're open to any kind of disease.
Yote ikikuja apita na wewe.
Yote ikikuja pneumonia, ikikuja anemia inapita na wewe, whatever, COVID ikikuja you'll be among the first people. Anything, talk about anything. Yes.
I'll come to you later, talk about now the treatment bit of all this and how expensive it is, and how that is going to now impact the economic side of things of our people, our society, and even our country. But daktari, sorry mchungaji, nataka tuangalie this issue from this simple way of looking at it.
Yes.
Na ni kama mashambani kule.
Yes.
We talked about the issues we've seen in counties.
Yes.
And the effects of alcohol and all that. Inafika mahali sasa mzee ulikuwa umezungumzia how people even now lose their jobs, lose their income and everything like that. Now when you lose this, but you also want to continue drinking, that means you have to find ways to get money.
Yes.
Unapata sasa mtu ameanza kuuza vitu vya nyumba and
true.
all that.
Yes.
Can you talk about issue from that point of view? Na vile inakuanga si rahisi kwa watu kule ushago.
Thank you. I think that's true.
Na si ushago tu kidogo tu ni kukata.
Yes.
Hata even in mjini here, you've seen people go to, they take kuweka rehani, kasimu kako ka laptop kako, you take it to Shylock, just to get money to drink.
So I think that's true, and I think we have seen this, like you have saying, as a result of alcoholism, we find cases of what I would call erosion of the moral fiber, the erosion of the moral fiber of the society. And like you have said, now these people, because now, like you said, they no longer have a source of income that is maybe dependable. So you find these people now, they even start doing some other things. That's where crime sometimes come in, because now they want some little money so that they can be able to buy the drinks. So that one you end up finding what I would maybe call petty crimes, because maybe pickpockets or something like that. People who just want a small amount of money so that they can go and buy alcohol. A good example, where I come from, my village, I don't want to say where it is, but you'll find that even there are some cases where you find even a sufuria, a sufuria kwa nyumba haipatikani,
sababu imepelekwa mahali pa pombe, imechukuliwa imeuzwa scrap. Imeuzwa scrap, so that maybe kwa hiyo scrap maybe you get 20-30 shillings kwa hiyo sufuria, so that you can get some money to buy alcohol, because like we say, this alcoholism now you cannot stop. It's like a car. It needs to be refueled now and then. So I think that all I'm saying, that we have cases of erosion of the moral fiber of the society, and even other antisocial tendencies, like I'm saying. So I think this is a very critical issue, and I think we need to look at it very soberly. They may be drunk, but I think as for us, we need to be sober. So I think those are some of the issues that I would like maybe to make, to comment. So I think because they do not have a source of money, source of finances, they end up doing some other things which are not good in the society. I think that would be my take.
I would like to add on to indirect source of capital, indirect access of capital to now source this alcohol. So he gave a good example of where now people will sell anything to access. But there's this urban indirect access of capital that on itself is eroding the morals, where girls, like young girls or young teens and young adults, want to access money to take alcohol. So they go through indirect means. This indirect would use this issue of wababas to access your alcohol, the issue of being in there with the wrong people. Purely, your friends are the wrong people, but because they help you access, either one of them is rich or they access alcohol. You see even the issue of some people, like, make sure you have a KDF person around you so that you can access cheap alcohol and all this kind of, like, so it takes up to so much immorality, because in the process of accessing the alcohol, there's so much. That's how some people are ending up even getting killed by by the babas of those Nigerian men we're talking about. Because one of the incentive you had on top of other things, money and everything, was to access alcohol through them, because now we don't have the direct cash.
Yeah.
So it becomes a big problem. It will be at the center of all this kind of immorality we are seeing.
Yeah, actually that is why I wanted to bring in our counseling and psychology to Saidi, especially kwa vijana, and this campus going, the teens and the young adults who are in campus. They're in school, but they want to live lavishly. They want to enjoy what life has to offer. They want to club where they have to club this in this city Fridays. Now they don't have money to do that. They have to find ways. Na ndio daktari amezungumzia, they have to find ways. So you bring wababas in, you bring wamamas as well.
Yes,
Yes, wamamas. Yes, wamamas and all that. So this issue, especially on the youth, naona kwamba tukiangalia hapa hivi nataka kuona kama wewe uko umri wako si mkubwa sana, so you can relate. Me and you, and of course maybe daktari there, we can relate easily than mchungaji to this young generation and all that. Then you look at this, you ask yourself as a psychologist, if we lose this young generation, if we allow them to go the route they are going, do we have a future? Are we not messing a whole generation? Then what needs to be done from your point of view, especially relating to the young generation, waite Gen Z, waite generation, whatever ilutawaita, but that generation, we are losing it, and alcohol is a major reason. Yeah.
And I think Daktari has brought up a very important issue of them wanting to access alcohol and money, accessing the good life at a very young age. And it's important to also note that at that age, the part of your brain responsible for decision making is not fully developed. So you're very prone to things like peer pressure. So when you see your friends are going out every weekend, you also want to go out every weekend. And as Mchungaji said, alcohol use has really been normalized. So if you're not indulging, you feel like you're left out. And unfortunately, a lot of people won't notice that wanapotea, somewhere along the way wanapotea. And the only time they'll come to that realization is very later on. So I think it's sad that we are losing a lot of young people to the what Mchungaji would call things of the world, mambo ya dunia. And part of the things that we do as psychologists is create awareness, create a lot of awareness. That way, at least even if you are in front of an audience of 100 people, 3 or 4 will listen, and they'll actually they will actually action whatever it is that you shared with them. Because again, hearing is one thing, actioning is a whole other thing. And it's sad to see that you can only do so much to save the younger generation, because alcoholism has really been normalized. And that's why you'll find everywhere you look there's a wines and spirits somewhere. When you go to the supermarket, there's a liquor store, a specific area set out for that. So even for the young people, when you tell them alcohol is bad, they'll ask you why
is it so available?
Exactly.
Yes.
Yeah. And like Mchungaji said, you'll find people selling their things at 30 shillings, just so that they can get that one cup of the illicit beer. So it's everywhere. So it may be a bit difficult to tell the young people that whatever you're consuming right now is bad, because again, society is telling you one thing but doing the complete other. Because
so do you think then what needs to be done then if the society has accepted this commodity? It's one of what we take, it's one of our day-to-day drinks and all that. What needs to be done? Is it the information side of things now to make people understand, well, this thing is available, but ubaya wake ni 1, 2, 3, 4, and the information is out there. And I want to ask you, Daktari, do you think that the information gap is growing bigger and bigger concerning the effects of alcohol use? vis-a-vis the availability of this commodity?
So I think in terms of information right now, there was a major gap and disconnect between what we valued. You see now Kenya as a country, where we are coming from, alcohol from our traditional practices, alcohol was part of the practices. But in terms of the complete information about it, what it is, the purpose, the function it has in our bodies, the effects and those, especially the bad effects, those things had not previously come out clearly. So that now for a generation that is maybe, like say the people in the 50s, are just aware that alcohol is existent and it causes a bit of high, a bit of euphoria, and some people some retardation, but it wasn't the complete package of information. But with the now with the upcoming syllabuses, we are now getting to a point of really explaining what alcohol is chemically, what it is. It's not now just another drink like tea that is available or soda. So this is a drug that we usually take that is integrated into many functions and part of our, maybe some people diet. But yes, I want to agree that the information, the package was never complete. So people were not fully aware. You know, we just used to say alcohol is bad. Alcohol had been taken, but we had never gotten to what is this bad.
How bad it is.
Yeah, how bad it is. But now with education and enlightenment, I think we are still at the level of now publicizing the real medical, socio-economic effects of alcohol, like going into the depth of it instead of just saying alcohol is bad. Yeah, because for sure there is a large population who are at a point where they had not envisioned alcohol, as I had mentioned, causing their esophageal cancer. For sure, if they were aware. Others causing their behavioral disorders, their decision making. They hadn't seen it getting to that point because they just found their grandfathers taking the muratinas, the changas during events, and for them, they just saw it as something social, something very social and fun. Yeah, but now we are still very young at publicizing the real content on alcohol, but I think now it's the time to do now the information gap. Yes.
Very important. And I'll come to ask you, even as we conclude, on what the role you as people on the social view of things, especially the church and other institutions that need to offer this information, what you're doing to ensure this happens. But before then, let's look at how expensive is it now to then treat the medical treatment that is given to people that have been affected with by alcohol and the effect that it has. Then how expensive it is to treat the effects of alcohol, because tunaangalia how alcohol really affects the socio-economic part of things, and the economic part of things is about finances. Yes. How expensive or cheap is it to treat a case where now alcohol has gone all the way to the adverse level? Yes, before we talk about rehabilitation, ambayo Masi atatusaidia.
So once we are at alcohol use disorder, we recognize that now we have a disease. I want to just start by saying it is extremely expensive to treat alcohol use disorder because the treatment comes in there's different levels of treatment. We start with that psychological treatment. We go to acute management and medical treatment, and we still go back to rehabilitation and psychological. So all of those that will include like cognitive behavioral therapy, group therapy, peer therapy, all those things we want to recognize that they are very expensive in terms of time, the amount of time that we need to get you through this therapy so that you're at a position now where like you're recovering from this disorder, you're in a good position. It's extremely expensive. If we go to medical therapy, most of the people who come for medical therapy with alcohol use disorder, most of them will be acute cases that need intensive phase of acute management with medication. That is also very expensive. The products we are using here to manage that acute situation, the person has maybe binge taken or now is now a dependent and is having withdrawal or all those symptoms that will now bring them to the hospital. All the acute management is, you see now, usually we are managing like a high, alcohol use, we usually manage it at a high dependency unit, which is next to ICU. So I pretty much believe Kenyans know the cost of ICU at this point. Every Kenyan has tested the cost of ICU. So this person is at high dependency and might graduate to ICU. It is all the products we are going to use, the medication, it's extremely expensive. Yeah. At acute level, we are trying to stabilize the sweating, the withdrawal, the seizures. It's extremely expensive. And you see they are at the level of alcohol use. So when we leave the acute level, we are going to the maintenance, where we are trying to walk them through some medication. Some medication will prevent the urge to want the alcohol. Those medication they are extremely expensive. In fact, they are not stocked in most hospitals. You will have to access, we'll have to source them for you from providers. Extremely, because this is a drug that is supposed to be in your body and work on the receptors that were addicted and asking for the more alcohol. Now stop it. And you see, that's not a one-day affair. That's a over 3 months affair if you're lucky. And some people might need a longer time. Some people might relapse. So now, and you see now we were also looking at even the nutritional level. It's also, when it comes to supplements, we all know supplements are quite expensive. For sure, now, what about if somebody suffers specific diseases from alcohol?
Exactly.
Say like, what if you have mental retardation?
The cancers.
How are we getting you out of mental retardation? It's not a one-day process. It's a very long journey. If you get mouth and throat and esophageal cancer, I need not to explain the cost of managing cancer in the country. Yes. If we get into ulcers, ulcers are a chronic thing. Those people are taking those anti-ulcer medication for over a very long period of time. If we get you into impotence and that sexual dysfunction, it is so expensive to treat all those kind of conditions. If we get you into something like aspiration pneumonia, some people will vomit when they are drunk and aspirate into the lungs. Aspiration pneumonia, we are treating you with some of the highest levels of antibiotics that are prescribed for very severe cases. A senior doctor has to prescribe them and source them from specific pharmacies. Those drugs they are extremely expensive. So it is usually very costly. And even, you see, we are looking at it wholesome, so that even the family members who are taking care of this person, some are with them in the hospitals, they have stopped working. Remember also somebody who is being managed for alcohol use, at that point they are not working. So we are just removing, we are just taking and not giving back. And the already expenses this person has already cost the family. The wife could be depressed, the children could be suffering mental disorders following what they have gone through. So even then they also may be doing therapies, being treated for depression and for all these psychiatric disorders around which one of the alcoholics brought up when they were during that period. Yeah, we are treating STIs. STIs will be followed up with very high antibiotics, antifungals, and they are never STIs. Whereas we take antibiotics for 5 days, nowadays we are treating STIs for 10 to 14 days, and follow-ups if they have recovered. We see whether we are going to 21 days and whether we are going to change that. Then in terms of resistance, most people in alcoholism, they have really taken these antibiotics, so they have developed resistance. So the package we have for now, people who have already developed resistance to some drugs, usually now the marketers in the pharmaceutical industry make sure it's very expensive because it's the category for people who have resisted all the drugs. So they capitalize on that. So it's not even about it's...
Wow.
If you want to look at it, you will never stop. You will never start.
I tell you.
Yeah.
I tell you. But then now, I think now let's look at it from this point of things. We've spoken about the adverse effects and how serious it is, how expensive it is to just begin, even think about wacha nianze kuchukua kaka kitu pole pole. How expensive that is, it's going to be. But again, now we have people that are in it. They need help. You know, at the end of the day, they got themselves in, whether knowingly or unknowingly, they didn't want to do that, but they are in there, but they need help. mwenzetu counselor, how do we give these people help in terms of rehabilitation and telling them there is a future? After all this, there is tomorrow, and you can be part of this tomorrow. How do we begin?
Okay, I think the first step is by reintegrating these people into society, because for a lot of us, we subconsciously exile them from society after we've seen the menace that they've caused, the troubles that they've brought us. So the first step is reintegrating these people back to society. That way they realize that, okay, regardless of what I have done or regardless of what I am going through, I am still loved. So once this person is able to feel loved, even taking them through the rehabilitation process is easier. So when you've reintegrated this person back into society and you choose to take them to a rehabilitation center, even their rate of acceptance or response to treatment being offered there is likely to succeed as compared to someone who already knows, hata nikitoka hapa, I have nowhere else to go, you know. So this person who has been reintegrated back into society knows that, okay, regardless of all the pain and suffering I've caused, these people still love me. They'll be able to work on themselves from a positive perspective as compared to one who has been excommunicated from the society. But just as Daktari has said, rehabilitation is expensive. So taking someone to a rehabilitation center is also quite expensive, and you see, this is a cost being incurred by the family members and not the person who is actually being taken to the facility. And rehabilitation, with rehabilitation, it's not 100% guaranteed that you won't relapse. There's always a possibility of relapsing, and I think that's something that society needs to understand, that taking someone to rehabilitation to a rehabilitation facility for the first time does not mean they are cured, because with addiction and mental illnesses, there's no cure. There's management, but there's no cure. So if someone relapses, it's good for you to understand that it's beyond them. Si ati amejitakia, you know, because the cravings and the triggers never really disappear. Like Daktari has said, the receptors that were craving the alcohol, they're still in your body. So there's a possibility of them reacting and asking for the alcohol again. So if this person relapses, it's okay. So just keep them close. Keep them close. Help them, because at some point this person will realize whatever I am doing is causing more harm to the people around me than good. Yeah.
So first of all, for you think it's acceptance.
Yes.
Accept them,
Yes.
and try to work with them,
Yes.
even as they try to get out of this pandemonium that they found themselves in. Mchungaji, then now as an institution that is in this space,
Yes.
And kila mtu anawangalia as the institution to offer guidance, to accept these people, to try to guide the society on the way that they do you think that you are doing enough, or there is still more that you can do?
Yeah, thank you. One, I think, I think I want to say that we are trying, but I think there's still a long way to go. One, I think one of the things that I'd like to say is that, there is the issue of alcoholism is still, I want to say that there's stigma attached to it. The society stigmatizes those people who are drunkards. They will say it's like they are left on their own. The society looks at them as outcasts. They say they are good for nothing. And people, they are viewed as if they are not normal, they are paranormal, they are subnormal, they are viewed in a way. So I want to say that one of the things that we ought to do is to destigmatize alcoholism. Let those people, let them be viewed like Daktari say is a disease. Let them be viewed in such a manner, and let us let society love them, let society accept them, let society receive them. And I think that that done, I think it is going to be a bit easier for us to bring them to society. Like I was saying, where I come from, I don't know whether I come from a village where there's a lot of alcoholism or something like that, but I want to say that I have seen these people, they are left on their own. It is like it is us versus them. So I think that that pushes them even further in the pit. Pushes them even further. Then I think also another thing is, I want to say that maybe the society is judgmental. It's like I say, we judge them. We view them as they are not good people. And like I was saying, it's like we look at it like we are better than them. And even I think in the Bible, the story of the prodigal son. When that son, maybe we would say that he personifies maybe what we are talking today about alcoholism, because he went and spent all that he had on living lavishly. But when he came back, his brother who was good, who never went, who never did those things, when he came, he looked down on him, was saying, we cannot receive you. You are good for nothing. You are an outcast. So I think let us as a society, let us not be judgmental. Let us have that heart to receive them back and to embrace them, because they are they are part of us. And I think when we do that, I think we are going to make that path of recovery, that path to recovery, a bit easier. As our psychologist is telling us that rehabilitation is so expensive. So I think we need to we need to accept them, so that we can, as it were, have a social landing point, an easy social landing point for them. I think that's all I would say. Yeah.
Very important. Daktari, at the end of the day, all is not lost.
Yes.
All is not lost. Hata kama mtu amejipata hapo ndani, there is still a way out medically.
Yes.
Do you think?
Yes.
As much as it is expensive, but it's possible. Yes.
Yes.
Especially kwa mtu ambaye hajaenda ndani sana. Anaweza saidika.
Yes.
Yeah.
So we want to, you see, at this point, we want all Kenyans and the world to appreciate alcohol use disorder as a disease, so that we don't want to just look at it as a behavior. You see, you don't want to find somebody with malaria shivering and you want to assume that it's a behavior of shivering. You know malaria is a disease that you're going to treat. If you find somebody with even a stomachache, we tell our mind, these are diseases that we need to treat with medication plus all these other supportive things. They drink water, they rest, painkillers, all those kind of things. So we want to start from a point where we are appreciating alcohol use disorder as a disease. And now the second perspective I want to bring is that whereas there are some diseases we treat instantly and they recover, we are acknowledging many diseases also that can be chronic. We have something like hypertension. There was a pressure mtu anabeba kwa kibeti kila siku.
Forever.
Hypertension, diabetes, we are taking medication every day. Heart diseases, cancer, we are treating throughout the year. So let us acknowledge alcohol use disorder as one of the chronic disorders. So we brace ourselves for managing it, because we will not manage it for one day. This is a disorder we will manage stepwise. And we are rare, say like cancer, I think pretty many citizens are now aware some cancers we use chemotherapy, others we use surgery. So also alcohol use disorder has its way of management. We start at the psychological level, we will be doing a lot of therapies, and then there's a medical treatment, and then there's the rehabilitation. So people must be willing to walk through that journey, so that when it's at the level of, and all of them go together. By the time you're at alcohol use disorder, a majority will need both the psychological and the medical treatment and the rehabilitation. And it is possible. Then in terms of I think I alluded to it, when it comes to medical, that's when we see somebody is acutely brought to hospital with withdrawal, with seizures, they are confused, they are sweating, they have palpitations. There's that acute management at high dependency units, what we call HDU. And then after that, there's maintenance medication, usually taken for up to 21 days. That includes what I talked about, supplements, because of all these micronutrient deficiencies. that are seen in all of them. Then later it is followed up with rehabilitation.
Okay.
So, and in terms of prognosis, patients will recover at different rates.
Okay.
Some might recover fully, some might recover partially, some might even relapse. And a relapse is where we start all over again, and might recover fully during the treatment of the relapse.
Okay.
So what I would want to encourage people is to brace themselves. When this disorder has come up, let's take the journey of treating it.
Okay.
And just know that it's chronic, so it's a journey that we will take.
Sure.
But we cannot abort missions, especially because most alcoholics, somebody mentioned that they have already put themselves in a place where now we disregard them, we stigmatize them. So we are also lazy at treating them and following up. And you see, we also even put those ideas in their minds, where when they relapse, they feel like they are failing. They are failing because we tried treating the first time. But when we acknowledge that the treatment of alcohol use disorder can be a bit prolonged with relapses and more, then we'll brace ourselves for the journey.
For sure.
And expect the outcomes can be partial, can be complete. Hopefully we don't lose the patients to the extreme ends of depression and suicide, which can also be treated medically. Yes.
All
So
right.
there's a lot of hope.
There's a lot of hope,
Yes.
and that is a good point for us to come to a close to. But kuna kitu kimoja daktari alisema, if you haven't begun, please don't. Usianze. We kwa tu hivyo usianze, shukuru Mungu, na kama umeanza tafadhali, there is a way out. You are not, all is not lost. There's a future for you, and you can be a part of that future. That is what we are doing at CAC TV, to have to create awareness on how important this issue is in society, and how it needs now to be looked at from both lenses of the eyes, because it's a disorder, as Dr. has said, and we need to look at it from that point of things, and because that way, then you are going to find a way out. That's the show that we have had tonight. Our continued series of alcoholism and the adverse effects it's having on society, as we look at how the week is panning out to be, the Health Week 2024, the Presbyterian Church of East Africa. We believe that the topic, this time, the theme this time, coming back to senses and facing alcoholism, is going to bring a change in society. And to say thank you for my partners in studio. I've been having, of course, Mercy Maina is a counseling psychologist at the Kikui Hospital, PCA Kikui Hospital, and Dr. Wairemo Waititu, a medical officer intern at the same facility, and of course, Mr. George Gedai is an assistant chaplain. I want to say thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for being with us tonight. I believe that we will continue to have this chat going forward and try to have society. Asante sana. I also want to thank you for being a part of this show tonight, for watching, for commenting, for giving your feedback. Let's have this conversation going on a social media. Of course, that is Facebook on CAC TV Kenya Facebook, as well as CAC TV Kenya on Facebook. SMS number, as always, 0111220044. We'll be able to look at what you're saying and if there is anything that needs escalation, then we'll escalate to our experts here for of course, personified or personalized help if that need arises. My name is Vincent Kerosi. I want to say thank you for always being a part of this show. Say thank you. Good night. God bless you. See you next time when you have time to talk about such issues. Kwaheri kwa sasa.